NASCAR superstars like Jimmie Johnson, who you ride with now, you can see in 112 days' time at the NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race right here on Speed. See all the big boys live in a winner-take-all dash for cash. The NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race only on Speed. From Jimmie Johnson to Kurt Busch. Champions aplenty here at the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and both these drivers are in the top 4 positions of this motor race.
NASCAR driver has yet to win this race, but 2 of them are positioned pretty well, aren't they?
They certainly are. Bert Frizzell has gone to the top, courtesy of a pit stop from Juan Pablo Montoya. They are the only 2 cars on the lead lap of this motor race. They boast a 5-lap advantage over Jimmie Johnson. A further 2 laps back is this man here, the 2004 NASCAR champion. He then has about a 43-second gap over Darren Turner last time round. Of course, we are under our 22nd full course caution.
Look at old Bert Frizzell up there. Name, not a household name across the country yet, but look who's in front of. Those are household names. Bert Frizzell doing a great job. The 6 car. Yet
another graduate of the Barber Dodge Pro Series. He was around in the era of AJ Allmendinger and Danica Patrick, and then stepped it up into sports car racing. Did try his hand last year at some late model racing with Stacey Compton and a program up there in Virginia. Then decided to come back to sports car racing. To Chris Neville.
Well, JPM was just here in pit lane, and it was just very routine stop, just fueling tires. One thing he did tell the team is be sure to blow out the radiator opening on the front of the car. There was a lot of debris in there. One thing I noticed, that right side, I don't know if our cameras can see it, but it's very blown out. That chicken wire mesh that protects the radiator on the inside is blown out pretty much on the right side. So any major debris can get to the radiator at this point in time. That's something the team's going to have to watch here in these next few hours. With all the debris out on the racetrack, big chunks can actually make it back to the radiator at this point.
This caution allows us to bring you up to date with our other class, the 2 classes on track, Daytona Prototypes GT. There's been a massive gift to Sylvain Tremblay and the Speed Source team. He had Spencer Pumpelly and the 67 TRG car on the tail of his lead lap after a great pit stop last time round. There's now a 3-lap advantage to Tremblay. They've got problems with the 67 TRG Porsche.
There's so much debris on the racetrack. In fact, for the first time I've ever seen this, they've got the jet dryer out there blowing some of this stuff off the racetrack and down off. Probably a good idea. He's off the racetrack now, but they actually sent him out there to get rid of something.
You'd be heading straight for the bus stop, wouldn't you? The mud and dirt and
grass. It's a mess over there. It always is.
Here is the lead GT car.
Just almost got something in his radiator grill. It went off to the right, a piece of paper or something.
3 of the regulars, Sylvain Tremblay, Nick Ham, David Haskell, who in the sprint format races calls the strategy for the team. And they've brought in young Brazilian hotshot Rafael Matos. They're in again, the GT cars, and Andrew Marriott's there.
And it is very busy down here with the 3 purple cars coming in all together. There is definitely a problem with the radiator. That car, they have been told to take it much more easily. You just see the guys perhaps there working away with a water spray, trying to clean this radiator out. And the car is now being pushed back. It's just like a very busy car park down here. And he goes off, but he's not been using so many revs because of this problem. And I know that the team is very concerned about it.
Well, the 66, Ted Ballou, has the opportunity to go ahead of Spencer Pumpelly, the sister car, move up into 2nd place in GT as we go to a break. We'll be back. Back with some sunshine in Florida, as it should be, but it has been a rare sight. Now check this out. Nick Ham in the 70 Speed Source Mazda. After exiting pit lane, taking over from team principal. This was a nervous moment, but fortunately with a happy ending.
Brakes free again. These tires are really, really slippery before they get some heat in them. And it's these drivers, when they come out of the pit, they're told go as fast as you can, catch up with the pace car. And this is causing a lot of problems under yellow.
Andrew?
More problems with the 03 car. This is the one driven by the various IndyCar drivers. Seems to be in the engine department. The rear deck is off, as you see, and the boys going to work on the Porsche engine. I did speak to Tony George just a few moments ago. He's gone off to a meeting, but Tony tells me he will not be getting in the car. He's leaving it to the boys here. But this has been really quite a challenging event for them, I think. But obviously they're looking forward to some IndyCar testing soon at Homestead.
You know what, Andrew? It's been a pretty decent run by these guys. They only do this event. They're not a season-long team, and they were as high as 11th position earlier. So that's a pretty fair run for Ed Carpenter, John Andretti, AJ Foyt IV, Vitor Meira, and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's Tony George.
Yeah, I think I can just get hold of Vitor Meira now. He's just eating a slice of melon. Oh, they want me to go. Okay. They're chasing me out of the pit, apparently. I'm getting in the way. I don't know why, because the rear deck's still off the car. It's not going anywhere for a moment. So I'll go round and just catch up with Vitor. And they're obviously not used to people running around their cars in the IRL. Vitor, sorry about that. My camera will come in a minute. I was getting in the way of your boys. You've been having a pretty good run, really, but some troubles. Just tell us about them.
Well, it's not a trouble. I mean, the throttle is starting to stick a little bit. It's not even halfway. I would say it's like a fifth of the throttle was stuck. It's just we're just taking care of it. It's just kind of making sure that we get to the end. We're not going to gain much more or lose much more. We got to just stay on the track.
Thanks, Vitor. It's gone green, so back to the booth.
Bert Frizzell is the race leader for Mike Shank Racing. New configuration, Ford power plant after running Lexus for several years, and the updated Riley bodywork. The car out in front. Juan Pablo Montoya is only 3.5 seconds in arrears. Both these cars on the lead lap fighting for overall victory here at the Rolex 24.
A little miscue there in turn one. I can't tell.
Nick Ham again.
Nick Ham again, and the 70 Speed Source Mazda was wide of turn one in that new paved area.
Multiple race winner in 2007 in the GT class. At one time, they were in with a shot to win the championship. In the end, it went Farnbacher-Lowell's way with Dirk Werner, sole champion. Quite often in sports car racing, because of the multiple driver scenario, you get co-champions. But Dirk Werner had it all to himself in 2007. Good clean restart so far. Encouraging to see the single sport BMW still running after what has been a brutal day. Matt Plum back in 34th overall. At one time, a race leader early on in this year's Rolex 24. He's high, very high on the track, up there with Darren Turner.
That's where he should be, actually, with those DP cars. Need to run the top line around there, leave the GT cars down to the bottom. Everybody working well together so far, but now the bus stop.
Well, that was the word from Director of Competition Mark Raffoff to the GT drivers. He said, when you're on the banking, if you're getting passed by DP cars on the inside, get down.
Yeah, you're in the wrong place. You don't need in the GT cars all that banking to come out of those flat infield surfaces. You do it on the bottom. Leave the DP guys go up by the wall. Due
to the woes of the 23 Ruby Tuesday car, they're dropping significantly. It's now Bert Frizzell, Montoya second, Jimmie Johnson third, Darren Turner fourth, Kurt Busch is fifth, Ricky Taylor is sixth. This is not for position. The 7 Siegel Sport BMW is considerably down on laps on the car that he has just passed Darren Turner, who's now in a very strong 4th overall, only 2 laps behind Jimmie Johnson. So a podium is within reach for Krone Racing and their Pontiac-powered Riley. This season, we will see them in the Pontiac-powered Lola.
And 2 laps on the racetrack would be very, very hard to make up, but 2 laps in the pits goes away in a heartbeat.
Certainly does. It certainly does. 72 Auto House Pontiac. Tim Lewis Jr., a race winner in the GT category last year, is in the middle of some heavy traffic, but he's not in the mix for a strong position in class. But at this stage of the day, it's all about championship points with just a little over 3.5 hours remaining in this year's 24.
40 Mazda back there is trying to make a nuisance out of itself.
That's Scott Maxwell. We go on board with Scott now, the inaugural Daytona prototype winner here at the Rolex 24. Back in 2003 with the Ford-powered Multimatic. As he weaves his way through traffic, we have told you a lot about some very interesting father-son storylines here this weekend. There were 6 examples of that, but there's only one man who has 2 sons. Actually, that's not true, because Joe Nonamaker has 2 sons racing here this weekend, but Wayne Taylor is the other. Let's hear from him now.
Well, he's standing by watching his son out on the racetrack. Wayne, we're down to the last few hours. hours. What has it been like for you to watch your son in the SunTrust car?
It's been pretty amazing, especially at the beginning of the race. You know, Max started the race and obviously brought the car to the lead. I know what it's like to go in second, having 15 years of experience. For Ricky, being 18 and never being in a professional race, it was a daunting feat. But he did really well, and he brought the car back in one piece. And now, you know, we are a few laps down, so now he's feeling more confident and can go out and have some fun.
Well, since you are a few laps down, what type of advice do you give him? Because obviously the team has to think about this championship.
Well, it's all about the championship now. So I just basically told him to take it easy, get the tires warm, feel comfortable, and then go for it. But remember now, we're not going to try and win the race because we're too far down, but we've got to think at the end of the year of the championship for Max and Michael.
Now, your other son, Jordan's also on the racetrack at this point in time. Are you paying attention to both of them?
I've tried. Yes, I've tried. Jordan, a lot like me, we pulled the worst straws. Both of us went in for the first time in the night and raining. And the poor guy had to do it this morning again, but he's having a good time. I think he's 15th in GT. First time in a GT car as well.
Now, we know you had a lot of problems with the car, originally electrical issues, and then overheating problems. I talked to Travis a little while ago. It sounds like things are back under control. Listening on the radios, they went to some special formula, some type of hair dye or something in the coolant system.
You spend too much with Calvin Fish. You spend way too much time figuring out how to make an idiot of me, but trust me, I'm holding it for you guys. But anyway, no. It's been very unfortunate, actually, because both the number 9 and number 10 car, when they're running, I mean, they're matching the leaders, and it's disappointing, but at the same time, it ain't over till it's over.
Well, we've got a lot of fast cars out on the racetrack, but the teams that have had those hiccups throughout the race, they're still a couple laps down.
And put yourself in Ricky Taylor's shoes. Here he is, 18 years old. Think of the drivers, as we show you the father-son examples, think of the drivers that he is out there with right now. Bert Frizzell, extremely experienced in sports car racing. Juan Pablo Montoya, a veteran of 30 Formula One podiums. Jimmie Johnson, twice a NASCAR champion. Darren Turner, multiple category Le Mans winner, touring car driver, ex-Formula One tester. Kurt Busch, NASCAR champion. Joey Hand, been around forever. Graham Rahal, now a man a young guy who has done very well in champ car racing in his maiden year. Jim Matthews, been in sports cars for years. Ollie Gavin, former F3 champion, American Le Mans Series class winner, Le Mans class winner. He is out there with some serious drivers right now and holding his own.
And if you're going to aspire to be a world-class race car driver and you're 18 years old, why not? Why not go out there with the best right now? And he's made no mistakes.
Jimmie Johnson has caught Bert Frizzell. This is not for position immediately, but it is to get a lap back.
And Jimmie Johnson needs that lap back, and he realizes that if you can get that lap back and touch a caution, well, you're back in the game.
For those of you just tuning in, good morning. Welcome to Speed's live and continuing coverage of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Leigh, Diffey and Dorsey Schroeder with you here. Andrew Marriott and Chris Neville downstairs on pit lane. Calvin Fish and Brian Till will soon step in for those guys who have been here since 6 this morning doing a wonderful job. You're riding with two-time and defending NASCAR Sprint champion Jimmie Johnson, who is hassling young Bert Frizzell. It's not for the overall lead of the race, but it is to get back an extra lap, and Bert isn't cutting him any favors.
I just saw something right there. I think Jimmie Johnson's car has more downforce put into it right now. It's not as fast on the top end, but it's faster on the infield. So if Jimmie Johnson's going to get by, he wants to do it right now in this infield area. He doesn't have the top end, apparently, that the other car has. I got a little wide of his apex there, trying to drive it in really deep. Got a little bit too much speed when he got to the middle of the corner. And now he's under attack, too, by the 60, Graham Rahal behind.
Graham Rahal is some 17 laps down on the sister car, the lead car, number 6. They've had problems. They were on the lead lap, and they were in contention, and then a broken rear suspension part while Justin Wilson was at the wheel. He slammed into the curb, and it sent him flying sideways.
Take a look at that now. Bert Frizzell able to open up the gap as he goes down the long back straight.
Keep your eyes out for Juan Pablo Montoya. Montoya should be behind the 60 because he's only, there he is, he's only 2.5 seconds behind Bert Frizzell.
Well, hats off to the guys working on the 60, the Michael Shank guys. That car was badly damaged, and they obviously have done a great job putting it back to straight again.
There's been some top-class repair jobs done throughout the night, throughout the rain, throughout these testing conditions. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast just tuning in. We know that it's pretty early over there, but let's bring you what occurred when the green flag flew. It was mayhem in the GT class after Scooter Gable came together with Anthony Lazzaro right as the green was waved. Then Elio Castro Neves flat spotted a tyre. It caused a deflating tyre bodywork in the opening hour. Guy Cosmo had a scary moment when he lost the right front wheel of his Porsche Fab car, but got the Spirit of Daytona car back to pit lane, no problem. We fast forward to hour 3, and Alan McNish, Peter Barron, team principal at Samax, having an interesting discussion because they ran into early wheel problems, but that was sorted out, no problem. Sadly, they were to retire from this race a little later on in the race. Hollywood star Patrick Dempsey in a pretty rough introduction to his first Rolex 24 at Daytona. The J-Lo TRG car is still in the mix in GT, but they had some anxious moments. So too did Salvador Duran for the 02 Target Ganassi car. Sent to the box, major front end repair, and then they sent him running again. It's been a very eventful 24-hour for one of 2 Ganassi cars. 6-hour highlights and an electrical problem plagued the number 10 SunTrust entry. Former championship winning car and race winning car finally got going again with Wayne Taylor, the team principal, at the wheel. In hour 7, more dramas. This wasn't Taylor though, it was Angelelli at the wheel. They ended up having to push start the car. Bump started. Angelelli, things were a little bit frantic and hectic down there in SunTrust land, but they finally got the Italian ace going again. And currently Ricky Taylor is at the wheel. That car is running 6th overall. Hour 8. And this was a common sight throughout the night in slick, slippery conditions. We fast forward from the 8th hour highlights to stuff earlier this morning in the 17th hour. Patrick Long getting into the side of Oswaldo Negri, the pole sitter. Nothing too major, but this was considerable damage to the A Motorsport Ford-powered Riley, and they were to retire after that. Just too much damage done. Michael Valiente and Scott Pruitt coming together at one stage, teammates last year. Not anymore, they're fierce rivals. And there was just a minor hiccup. And then I'm not sure if this was Alex Lloyd or Salvador Duran. I believe it was Duran at this stage of the race behind the wheel. And yet another hairy moment for the Mexican driver. Then there was a multi-car pile-up here, not too much damage done. Gunnar Jeanette was in the 57. That car needed some rear right attention. And then a gear cluster change for the 99 Bob Stallings Gainsco Lowe's car. That team did a superb job in getting that car back out and running. Major dramas and ongoing dramas for the 91 Riley Matthews car. And that was a lead car at one stage in the race. And then this is one of the scarier moments. Joao Barbosa, while in the lead, had a right rear suspension part fail, sent him sideways, and a big slap into the infield wall. We understand that Joao is okay. Justin Wilson hit the curb a little too hard, heading up towards turn 3, and broke that right rear suspension. He was able to bring the car back to pit road, and as Dorsey and Chris were just saying, a great repair job from the Mike Shank Racing team to get him back out on track. And then this just crushing blow to the Ruby Tuesday 23 that sent it behind the wall. That pretty much brings you up to date with the major highlights and lowlights, you could say, for some teams as we take you to the race summary. And can you believe that? 22 cautions for 87 laps and 15 different leaders. It's a DP record here at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. NASCAR notables, we've got Champ Car notables, IndyCar notables, sports car heroes. We've got them all here at the Rolex 24.
Welcome back to Daytona. They're calling this race the Race of Champions, and I'm here with Tom Kristensen, one of the greatest champions in sports car racing. And Tom, I understand you're here just to carry Alan McNish's bags from the hotel room to the rental car this morning. Is that right?
Yeah, I have them here in my pocket. Yeah, we're going to Sebring, and it's first time I'm at Daytona. It's obviously a lovely race, a great tradition, and from a guy from Denmark, it's nice to come and have a look, you know. Maybe in one day in future, it would be nice to go behind the wheel in one of the cars.
You've won Le Mans 7 times, Tom, but you're in a bit of a drought right now.
Yeah, I mean, the best preparation starts. I mean, the season for me starts on Wednesday when we will test at Sebring, and obviously with Capella and Magnus, we have a very good team. The Audi R10 looks very strong, and the season there looks pretty interesting and exciting, going for the big one and at Le Mans. But it's true that a perfect team and a perfect teammates, but until we have won it together, it can't be that perfect, can it?
That's right. Bunch of buddies are here this weekend. Rockefeller, Lucas, and obviously Alan. And Alan has come so close to winning this race. He keeps coming back. Has he tried to tease you into joining up with him here? You had so much success over the years racing together.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to come here with the right effort and things like that. And I also asked Alan this morning when I woke him up, and I said, "You're here, you want to win this race?" And he said yes. And I said, "What are you doing in bed that early then?" So.
How you feeling, mate? You had the big wreck last year. I know you came back for Le Mans and finished out the DTM season. How are you feeling now after the off season?
I feel good. The sunshine is out, and I look forward for this season. My boss, Dr. Ulrich, have sort of left me home and done all my physical training and all in preparation for this season. And I've not been testing. I haven't been in a race car since the final race of DTM in Hockenheim last year. So you know, I'm really hungry and motivated.
TK, great to see you here. Look forward to seeing you at Sebring and Le Mans.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Brian?
It's nice to see the sun coming out. Somebody that needs a little sunshine is Leighton Reese. Leighton, you guys have had problems. We chronicled that. You had a half shaft go yesterday. Is that the same problem that you guys have on the 06 right now?
I'm not sure. Mark Bunting says apparently there's only one-wheel drive in the rear, and you know, it's even handling weird on the straightaways. So you know, it's just it's not going our way. We must have made the race gods angry, but you know, the 07 car's still got a shot at a decent finish. We're having a good battle with our epic rivals, the Farnbacher group. So hopefully we'll get the Banner Engineering Pontiacs closer to the front.
We've heard it all up and down pit lane. Hey, if we're not going to win this thing, at least we need to collect points. There is a championship at stake at the end of the season, Leigh.
Yeah, currently 8th in class is the sister car, the 07 machine. 2 times the winner last year, Paul Edwards. But more importantly, at the front of the field, Jimmie Johnson has got a lap back. He did get by Bert Frizzell and is a lap closer to that lead car, and Montoya is only 2 seconds behind Bert Frizzell now to regain the lead if he can catch and get by Frizzell. 2 separate deals though, aren't they?
Yeah, well, Jimmie Johnson had been working on that for what, the last half hour. Finally got that pass made, picks up that lap. That's what you got to do. You'll get some of them that way, and maybe a caution or something will come out of it, get lucky and get back up in the lead lap again.
Let's give some credit to Kurt Busch in only his second Rolex 24, because he is actually pulling away from this sister car. The 76 of Darren Turner is now 7.2 seconds behind Kurt Busch. He was as close as 4.5 seconds. So Busch is handling it well. This is the 75. This is Ollie Gavin. He's up in the top 10 as well. So both Krone cars in the top 10. That's a solid effort.
Ollie's lost half of his rear wheel cover, which will take away downforce. You'll see it when he comes by, a tail away shot. It's got the upper part of the left side missing completely. And that channels air up back over that wheel. Now there's going to be a big vortex of air coming off the wheel, which will disrupt the wind to the wing.
And with those 2 cars you're looking at there, the green and blue Krone and the yellow Doran, it's a Ford-powered Doran, the Pontiac-powered Riley. There'll be changes with these 2 cars. It'll still be a Ford power plant in this, the 77 Kodak car, but it will no longer be referred to as a Doran. There'll be significant changes with the bodywork, and it will be now known as a Dallara. Kevin Doran working with Dallara. Wayne Taylor, we know, will have a Dallara as well, and we believe there's another one on order for a different team and a new driver combo as well. And then with the Krone team, of course, Proto Auto LLC will bring back those Lolas that we saw at the January test. Didn't quite go to plan. They didn't feel as comfortable as hoped, so they had to revert. Oh, no problems for our race-leading car.
That's not good at all.
Bert Frizzell is in trouble, major trouble.
This looks engine-related. That does not look like a tire. No, it's shaking.
Calvin?
Well,
Well, I'm down at the pit lane. They were set up for a regular change here on tires and fuel, but now there's panic striking within the pit box.
Right,
a lot of engineers running around, so just trying to regroup here. Ian James is getting ready to jump in here. We expected AJ Allmendinger to maybe finish this thing out, but right now that would be beyond the 3-hour maximum that you could do with a driver, so they're going to have to rotate the guys in and out here.
Right rear suspension.
Big drama here.
Cal, right rear suspension's failed on that car.
Right there. It's towing out there in the back end, Dorsey, so something has gone amiss. They need to really check this out. Mechanic is now looking at the bodywork, but you're right. I would have thought the mechanic would have seen that actually this new bodywork actually gives a little bit of a distorted view. It kind of tucks in there, Dorsey, so I'm not sure if there is a problem or not. The wheel's on, he's rocking it, trying to get, no, it is broken. It is definitely broken. They need to get this thing fixed and not send the car out.
Yeah, I saw it, Cal, when he came on the pit lane. I could see it flopping around back there, so good job of maintaining control. But this is a suspension failure.
They need to shut it down, get that bodywork off, and assess whether they need to get it behind the wall and get more of the mechanics on this.
Well, he didn't make the bus stop, Cal. Whatever broke under braking right for the bus stop. He was wise and went straight. He brought the car to a stop like you're supposed to and drove it back. But whatever broke under braking.
And this is where the teamwork really will pay off. How orchestrated are these boys? How much rehearsal of changing the suspension pieces was done in that off-season? Even though this is the new Riley bodywork, essentially the suspension components are what they've been running last season, so they should be familiar with the change. It looks like the front end of the bottom wishbone ties into the bell housing there. Can't quite see in there, Dorsey, to see whether it's just the rod end is broken or whether it's the...
Bert Frizzell did some heads-up driving right there, Calvin. It broke under braking. He knew right away not to even dare turn down to that bus stop. He went straight on and saved the car.
And all of a sudden, there's an extra spring in the step of the 99 Bob Stallings Gainsco Lowe's team. This is the lead car, Juan Pablo Montoya. It has not changed, and there's now the sole car on the lead lap. Well, with Bert Frizzell, Ian James, and the Mike Shank crew stranded in pit lane, now Fogarty, Gurney, Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy Vasser can play leapfrog and move into second place in just 3 laps' time. Cal.
Well, as the number 6 is now being pushed back, I heard the words you don't want to hear. We may have to change the bell housing, so that is a big fix, which is definitely going to take these boys out of contention for the win. But there are also dramas down in the 01 pit. I just checked in with Tim Keane, who orchestrates that operation, and he said we're having some problems. It's overheating, and we're hearing a lot of that throughout the course of these 24 hours. The amount of sand around this racetrack, and then you get the water with the rain that we've had, it turns into like a fine paste, just clogs up the radiators. He said what we have is a second grill, which we're going to try and take out on this next pit stop and try and get these water temperatures down. But when your main competition has now had big drama, you'll probably be a little bit more thorough in fixing that overheating issue on the 01 machine, which will assume the lead here.
Dan Gurney, he was up here in the speed booth last night. His son now has a serious shot at winning this race. Kyle Brannan, the race engineer. They won't be getting too carried away with yet because they are not yet leading this race. The Ganassi with Felix Sabates crew are. The superstar lineup of Scott Pruitt, Juan Pablo Montoya, Dario Franchitti, and Memo Rojas. It has been a solid effort from the 01 car.
And for the 01 car, for Montoya, what he has to do now, if these engines are hot, is quit running as many revs, drop the revs down 1,000 or 2,000 RPM. It's going to slow you down, and 01's going to come in. Oh, trouble here.
Fourth-place car, what's going on, Calvin?
15 stop for the 9 machine. Kurt Busch staying behind the wheel there. I didn't see a tire change, so looks like they're extending the run on these tires, and that was one thing that was discussed during the testing and practice here at Daytona, that you could probably run a stint and a half, then that only drop in performance, and then you don't have to go through those first 2 or 3 laps where you're trying to get that release agent off the tires. So Kurt Busch stays behind the wheel. They too are really working on that front radiator. Both the 9 machine and the 10 have been suffering from overheating issues also.
It's only a matter of time, 2 more laps, and the 99 Gainsco car will move into second place. Kurt Busch back out after that routine service. He has been overtaken by Darren Turner in the Crone Racing Pontiac. So Darren Turner now owns 4th place in this motor race, 7 laps behind the leader Montoya.
Well, this is shaping up to be quite an epic battle, isn't it? If this car, in fact, has any kind of a hiccup, then we're going to have all these cars in contention.
Lead GT car Nick Ham has moved into the top 10 overall in this motor race. Spencer Pumpelly back up to 2nd, Ted Ballou 3rd, Jim Pace 4th, and former champ car driver Jan Halen in 5th in GT. This race evokes so many emotions. Generally at the start, a few nerves, a lot of happiness, and generally glad to get the season started. Those emotions and feelings change throughout the course of the next 24 hours, whether it's joy or heartbreak, despair, frustration. We're getting close, about to click up 600 laps, which means in excess of 2,100 miles have been run, and just a shave over 3 hours to run until the checker comes out. And still the story unfolds. The Fogarty, Gurney, Johnson and Vassar car has now moved into 2nd outright. 5 laps behind. Should be only 4-lap deficit when he comes through the next time to trigger the timing monitor. The 6th Michael Shank car with Bert Frizzell behind the wheel when he came into pit lane, due to laps completed, still remains in 3rd overall. Darren Turner is 4th and Kurt Busch is in the top 5.
And we've been saying that no NASCAR driver has won this event, and I stand corrected by the emails we've been getting. No NASCAR champion has won this event. In fact, Casey Mears did win this in 2006.
2 years ago.
Sorry, Casey. My bad.
Calvin, what have you got?
Well, I'm down here with the 6th machine. Mike Shank is right in the thick of the action as always. And Mike, what is the problem?
We blew a right rear tire, and then it got flopping like they do. And pulled the pickup points out of the Bellhausen, so it completely ruined our race weekend, which I'm not happy about. I've had 5 flat tires this weekend, and I'm just disgusted right now.
How long a change is this, Mike? I know you'll try and get this car to the finish today.
Yeah, I mean, we'll try. We're going to put the other back end on it. If we're lucky, an hour, maybe a little less. I'm not sure.
Well, total deduction down here. He said the 60 car is a wounded car as well, so they're just trying to hang on, get some points in this championship chase. But potential winners here, suddenly striking problems. Brian?
99 on pit road. Jimmie Johnson behind the wheel. You can see a little damage to the right rear bodywork just in front of the right rear wheel. But after this period of time, you would expect these cars to be showing some of the scars of war. Donuts down the right side as well. Johnson staying in, 4 new Pirelli tires going on. This team is not going to give up. They've clawed their way back to 2nd place, and any hiccup by the guys up front could hand the lead and the victory to this 99 team. Right now, adding a little bit of oil to the right side. Pressure fitting there, putting a little oil in this Pontiac power plant. Fuel going in. Fuel probe is out. They're going to pull a tear-off off. I think these windshields very dirty and pitted right now. They're saying take their time, no need to rush. You heard Kyle Brannon. Jimmie Johnson, this stop taking a while here on the left rear, doing some work back there. I can't get around to that side of the car just yet. Stop taking longer than it certainly they wanted it to. Adding some water to the Pontiac is what they're doing, and I'm seeing a little bit of coolant as we saw yesterday on the tarmac here as Jimmie Johnson heads back onto the racetrack.
Let me explain that just a little bit. That fire extinguisher, chrome fire extinguisher looking thing, was in fact full of water, pressurized higher than the cooling system on the 99. So when he plugs it in, opens the valve, it dispenses the water out of the fire extinguisher into the cooling system without having to remove the radiator cap.
We were talking about Casey Mears earlier. It was Casey's victory with the Ganassi organization that spurred Jimmie back into life to come back and try and win this classic sports car endurance race. He's had 3 races previously, 2 outside the top 20, and he's had 1 second place finish. That's where the car sits right now. Here's the boss, Bob Stallings.
Bob Stallings, there was no quit in this Gainesco team last year. After they left this racetrack, you walk away with a championship. We've seen no quit in this team so far. What would it mean to come back after the bad luck you guys have had over the last couple of years and walk away with a victory?
Well, as you know, we came here to win last year. We thought we had it last year, and doggone it, we thought we had this year too, but we will not stop until the last final lap. And this Lowe's Gainesco team is definitely headed to the possible end.
You've built quite an organization here, just like Gainesco. This team, you've built it with the proper personnel. How do you find the right guys to make sure there is no quit on anyone on this program?
Well, I mean, it's a philosophy that every guy on this team has embraced, and what I've said to each one of them is you have to be better than the person that does your job on the other team. All the guys are excited about that. They bought into it, and that's why they all came back.
But it is definitely a championship winning effort here. And who knows, guys, it may be a Rolex 24 winning effort by the end of this day.
Well, right at the moment, they're 20 positions better than where they finished this time last year. That will help them in their championship defense in the Rolex Sports Car Series in 2008. When Jimmie Johnson came here just days before the final Nextel Cup event at Homestead Miami Speedway last year, people said, "Are you crazy? What are you doing testing a Daytona prototype when you got the championship on the line?" He said, "This relaxes me. It takes my mind off my NASCAR duties, and I love being in these cars." And he said, being back with the championship winning team going into the Rolex 24 in 2008, I couldn't be in a better position.
You heard him say it himself, I love driving race cars. And this is a race car. You know, this is what this guy lives, breathes for to do. Now, the 99 car, it's running well, but it's got 5, it's starting to spit something out. That's not good. It looks like it's getting worse. It's 5 laps in arrears of the Ganassi car. Let's keep an eye on that, Leigh. That didn't look particularly good. Now, they just added water to the back. It could be that it's got a bit too much water and it's just throwing it out into the overflow can. I hope that's what it is. No, it's really...
Brian?
Well, Dorsey, you're exactly right. They added that fluid. Now, remember yesterday we saw that same problem on their first pit stop. It's almost like they're putting so much fluid in, it's pumping a little bit out, and then it reaches a level where it stays consistent. So right now, no concern on the part of the 99 team. They've seen that fluid. They say, hey, it's the same thing that we had yesterday. It'll settle down. We'll be fine.
Well, like I said, when you put that can on there, it's running at a really high pressure compared to what the cooling system does. Somewhere probably 60 PSI. That's a lot still coming out. We'll keep you in tune with that. But in any event, you can actually pressurize more water into the system than the system can hold.
Race leader continues to be Colombian Juan Pablo Montoya. They have got a 5-lap advantage over the 99 Gainesco car. Darren Turner for Crone Racing has been elevated to a podium position with 3 hours remaining in the race. Kurt Busch in the Penske Taylor Toshiba Pontiac is up to 4th. The Shank car, number 6, maintains 5th while in the pit garage. And then Ricky Taylor, Graham Rahal, Goossens, Eric van der Poel, and then our top GT car is in the 10. Calvin.
Down there with Chip Ganassi. I know he hates to talk at this stage of the race because there's a long way to go, but Chip, with a 6 cars problem, it really takes the heat off a little bit and allow you guys to run your own race here to the checkered flag.
Correct. You know, I mean, I feel bad for those guys that they had an issue. You know, I mean, we've been lucky. We've had a great team here this weekend, and you know, we've been, knock on wood, everything's gone good so far. We just got to bring the thing home, you know, but there's a long, long, long way to go. So anything can happen yet, you know.
You're on the verge of a record 3 straight, Chip, and talk about this organization. When we reflect back to last season, in the course of a few days, you had 2 championships get away from you, one here in the Grand Am Series and obviously the IRL Series. How do you regroup as all the guys behind you here to really come forward in this season and come out as strong as you have?
Well, I think everybody on the team knows their own capabilities and knows what they're capable of doing and achieving, you know, and it's just a matter of, you know, giving them the right tools to do it. And, you know, I don't know. That's up to Mike Hall. You have to ask him. He's the guy that can tell you. He's the guy that really runs things.
All right, Matt, it's been a great run so far. Best of luck.
Thanks.
And you can understand.
Calvin, I thought you were going to get pushed away like Andrew.
I told him I was going to buy him a beer.
A little reluctance to speak there because at this stage in the race, they do not want to jinx themselves. They just want to run it out to the end, and then they'll start doing the talking and celebrating. But there is too much work to do. More than a regular Rolex Series race still to come. This race has been a little weird when you have been at the front. Joao Barbosa, Justin Wilson, Joey Hand, and Bert Frizzell. And that's Joey saying, oh well, we gave it our best. And now the 77 Ford Doran Mamo Gidley is nuzzled in against the tyre barrier. The 07 Pontiac of Paul Edwards was involved. This is the 62 TRG entry, and sports car legend Jack Baldwin behind the wheel right now.
Possibility is that Jack lost an engine. Watch this. Oil down the racetrack for these boys. We'll see if we can see what happens here. But I think Jack's car had an engine let go, and
there it is up ahead.
Yeah,
there it is up ahead.
And now this is all full of oil, and now we got problems. Can't stop, can't turn.
This is on board the 60 with Graham Rahal.
Good save by Graham. Unfortunately, several cars beyond that weren't as lucky, 77 being just one of. This brings out our 23rd full course caution, as we'll have to clean this up.
Well,
he's not slipping in oil.
It's not all frustration out there, is it?
I bet that water's cold, though.
There is a little bit of fun to be had here on Lake Lloyd in the middle of Daytona International Speedway. It's been going on all weekend, and this is probably the first time they've enjoyed some sunshine to ski with.
You'd look good doing that, wouldn't you?
No, not with my gammy leg.
Your billabongs?
So the situation being cleaned up out there. Now Dorsey learned from this.
Cuts in the corner. He's got a good entry here. He's ready for it. Yeah. That's kind of a Joey hand maneuver. Good landing. Sticks to landing. Joey didn't do quite as well on the landing.
No, kept
he had a good takeoff, though.
It's pretty neat, huh? Very stylish.
Not his first time, I don't believe.
Was that you in your younger days on Lake of the Ozarks?
Yes, it was, as a matter of fact. I used to do that. Now I drive the boat. Easier job.
Back then, wakeboards made out of oak, were they? Or
13 cautions last year. 18 was the record set in '97. This is our 23rd so far in this 24-hour Rolex.
Cal, tell us more about this sequence of stops.
Well, I checked in with Timmy Keane once the 6 car had its problems, went behind the wall, and I said, does this change your philosophy in terms of the overheating issue that they're having? And he said, well, a little bit. What we're going to do is spend a little bit more time in really trying to get that radiator as clean as we possibly can, particularly if we catch a caution, which they are now doing. And the car now hits pit road, and they're also potentially going to add some little gurney flaps to try and suck the air out through the cooling system, through the aerodynamics of the car, increase the airflow, which should help cool it down a little bit. It'll slow it down a bit down the straightaway. But he said, right now, all we want to do is to go out there, run like a 1:50 pace, and just try and get this thing to the finish. And it's really a different change, but it's very difficult for the drivers when you back off and you're really running a lot harder than that, as you know, Dorsey. You try and take too many, be too conservative. You get out of your rhythm a little bit, so they have to watch for that. Let's go down to Brian.
Mark Goosen's in the number 91 Riley Matthews Pontiac. Still big cracks in this windshield. Bill Riley told me last night if they had a long caution, they would try to change this windshield. You see big cracks on the right-hand side of it, but it seems like they haven't gotten any bigger, and they haven't changed that. Visibility, a huge issue right now. Crew trying to clean it off so that Mark Goosen can see. They're trying to claw their way back up to the front, Cal.
Well, work continues as we expected here on the front end of this 01 machine. They put a new grill in there. The mechanics got right in there. See up on the air outlets from the nose there, they're adding these little gurney flaps. What that does is change the air pressure over those and sucks more air through the radiator, essentially cooling the car down a little bit more. So they'll monitor this closely, and I'm sure they're not going to get into any high temperatures if they can possibly avoid it, because there's not many Lexus in the field this year, but certainly right now they have the strongest horse. Brian?
Cal, the 91 still sitting here, and right now the crew, Bill Fingerlow, looking back in the engine compartment. I saw him with a piece of exhaust pipe here in their hands a moment ago, so I don't know if they have a header problem, if they're going to have to change a little length of exhaust back in the back. Some type of a problem on the rear of this Riley. Remember, they had problems early on. It seems like the problems are continuing. Working on the back end of the car. Can't see exactly what it is right now, but we'll continue to look, try to get to the story as we find out more.
Brian, let me give you a point of clarification. When they changed that gearbox out there on pit road before, they were allowed to do that by Grand Am because they were strategic in picking their pit spot. They don't share a pit with anyone else. In fact, they're right at a pit cut through. And so because of that, they're allowed to work on the car. You see Bill Fingerlow there. That was my ex-crew chief in Trans Am. Get it involved with it. That was a very strategic thing to do. To pick that pit right where the break in the pit wall is allows them to be able to take this and work on it and not take it back to the garage, saving time.
All right, still under caution. We'll get back into rhythm. We'll take a break, go back racing when we return. No pressure on the Ganassi crew. They boast a 5-lap lead, so they're able to carefully, cautiously take their time and repair and send Montoya on his way. Speed's coverage of the Rolex 24 at Daytona is brought to you by Pirelli. Power is nothing without control. And by Rolex, a crown for every achievement. Glad you could be with us on our live and continuing coverage here on Speed of the Rolex 24. We're inside the final 3 hours. It's about a regular Rolex Series race heading home to the checkered flag. Will it be an historic day for the Telmex Chip Ganassi with Felix Sabates, Lexus Riley? JPM Juan Pablo Montoya continues to lead from fellow NASCAR drivers Jimmie Johnson and Kurt Busch. And Nick Johnson, the best of the Chrome cars, ahead of 18-year-old rookie Ricky Taylor in the top 5. Nick Ham is the thorn in Kevin Buckler's side from TRG, because look at that, 67, 66, 64, all TRG Porsches. They could have the podium locked out if it weren't for that very slick, quick Mazda RX-8. And running 5th in class is the 80 of Jan Halen. Cal, what do you have?
Well, 60 cars in, and Graham Rahal did a tremendous job there in that stint. Car's a little bit wounded, but Osnegri's going to get in there behind the wheel. Currently running 7th. They're about to assume 6, I believe, Lee. Maybe you can update that in terms of the 6 cars still being back in the garage area with a lengthy fix. So they're going to be up in the top 6. And again, these boys, Mark Patterson as well as Negri, going to be contesting for the championship this year. They feel they have a very strong combination with this new Riley bodywork and the Ford power plant. Lots of support from the Ford factory in terms of getting this car to the shaker rig and the wind tunnel and all of the stuff that it needs to really make this a whole new force. Mike Shank, as you can see, what a gutsy guy he is. He's really put his neck on the line and getting this business going, and he just fights all the way. He's very disappointed in the result today, but they'll continue on. They're making a rear wing change here, so I think as everyone's convinced that we're going to see dry running for the rest of the way, they're probably trimming the car out a little bit, a little less downforce in this machine, giving it some top speed back.
So effective. They picked up a new sponsor in Westfield Insurance. They should be delighted as well. A Mike Shank front row locked it out. Here's Michael Valiente, eyes wide open, trying to grab as many points as he can. The 10 is currently in 5th place. Time for another Rolex moment in time. Let's wind it back to 2003. Kevin Buckler's Racers Group Porsche not only won the GT class, but the race overall. Success for the Californian team, along with Michael Schramm and a couple of German superstars, Timo Bernard and Jörg Bergmeister. Can he go all the way today and lock out the podium? Well, he has to hang in there for another 2 3/4 hours and get by a Mazda RX-8, which has a 4-lap advantage at the moment. 01, the class-leading car for Daytona Prototypes, the race-leading car overall. Juan Pablo Montoya. Looking good. 4-lap advantage over the Fogarty, Gurney, Johnson, and Vassar car. Jimmie Johnson remains behind the wheel of the 99.
Just under an overall race, normal race length right now. No time to go.
That's one of the slight rule amendments too, that if you're a regular Rolex Series viewer and fan, remember last year we mixed it up a little bit with 2.5-hour timed races, and there was an implemented 45-minute mandatory stop. That has been abolished this year. We go back to 2-hour 45-minute races with a new rule that has been implemented, and that is that every driver must do at least 30 minutes.
I think that's a good rule. This one-lap in stuff and win championships is just not the way things should be played out, in my way of thinking.
This is the GT class leading car. Rafael Matos. And one man with a big smile on his face, I'm sure it'll be even larger in 2.5 hours' time, is John Doonan from Mazda.
John Doonan helps head up Mazda Motorsports in North America. And John, for you guys, see this little Mazda out front is great, but to see the checker flag would be even better. Talk to me a little bit about the marketing and what that does for a company like yours to get a victory here at the Rolex 24.
Well, you know, there's the big ones in sports car racing, certainly Le Mans, and there's nothing like this one. We did that back in '79, I think, with the first RX-7, got our victory here. So this would be really special. A lot of time yet. Earlier this month, we unveiled the new 2009 RX-8 at Detroit. So for us, it's relevance to the product that's on the showroom floor.
I think Mazda's other involvement in motorsports in North America has been their driver development ladder. Rafael Matos, who's in the car right now, should be the poster child for you guys.
Yeah, you know, Rafa's the first driver to really do every step. Karting, Skip Barber, Star Mazda, Atlantic, and we really want those drivers to know that we gave them that chance along the way, so we're really proud of him, and how special is it that he can enjoy a successful run like this.
I was talking to David Haskell a little bit earlier. He said the only problem that you guys have really had is that you feel like the clock here in your pit stall is too slow. It should be 1:30 by now.
Yeah, and it's, you don't want to watch it. We're just taking it easy, but everybody's worked awful hard. We have our new partner Castrol with us, so we're proud to carry them with us, and we'll see how it goes.
It's not over yet, but so far, guys, that little Mazda has not missed a beat.
The car looks so clean too, Dorsey. No obvious damage on it.
That's the key to it, isn't it? I mean, you got to run this whole thing. We talked about it. You can't win this race till 1 o'clock today, so knocking the fenders off of it and tearing it all up yesterday, what's that good for?
1 o'clock or 1:30?
1:30, well, whatever. Depends how fast you go.
Robin Liddell in the 57 Stevenson Motorsports Pontiac GXPR. Something new for Robin, who has become so well known to sports car fans for his efforts in Porsche racing. Did do a little bit of LMP2 prototype racing, but typically we know Robin, he's a very fast Porsche driver. He is a GT winner here at the Rolex 24 when he drove with the Orbit team, Johnny Molan, the Policastros, and Mike Fitzgerald back in 2004.
A couple of emails just came in, one asking, do the Rolexes go to both class winners or just the overall winner? In the past, it was just the overall winner, but nowadays, not that way. Now, both classes. Unfortunately, when I won, it was the other way around. I didn't get mine. And then Michael from Burbank, California says, hi, when a team buys a chassis from one of the manufacturers, Wiley, Crawford, etc., what does that include? Suspension, transmission, brakes, etc.? Well, you can negotiate that depending on what you want to do. The second part of the question is, do they have to configure it to match the motor the team is going to use? Answer that question definitely is a yes, because the bell housing at the back is different per motor, and most of the rear suspension mounts off the bell housing.
Now from one Pontiac to another, here's Lawson Aschenbach. We know Lawson so well from Speed World Challenge, and he is looking forward to the challenge of racing an entire season in the Rolex GT field and season. He wants to get the championship this year with his new teammate, Tim Lewis Jr.
Of course, he was a Team Cadillac driver, and that team no longer together. It gives him the opportunity to move up to this GT rank. It is a step up, no question about it, and I'm sure he wants to continue his affiliation with General Motors and be a factory driver, which in the United States road racing, if you're going to make a living being a driver, that's something you, in my estimation, have to do.
Some of you will remember Mike Borkowski, the former DP driver for the Brumos Porsche organization. His brother is a graphic artist, and this to me looks very much like Mike Borkowski. I think it's Jeff Borkowski. It looks like a Jeff Borkowski design to me, so I don't know that for a fact, but it's quite a striking car. 99 is in. Brian standing by.
Jimmie Johnson brings the 99 to pit road. Now, he had called in on the radio just a little earlier. We were monitoring their radio. He said he had a vibration. They told him if he could live with it to stay out. Then they decided, you know, for safety's sake, let's check this out. We're working our way back towards the front. All we need is the lead car to have a problem. We'll take the victory here, so let's get it in. Let's get Alex Gurney behind the wheel. But it happened so quickly. Gurney was standing on pit wall ready to go. Bob Stallings tapped him on the shoulder, pointed to his hands. Alex had forgotten his driving gloves, so he had to jump back into the pit box, grab his driving gloves, and then get ready for the stop. Right now, cool suit system going in on the right-hand side of the car. Gurney behind the wheel. Just 13 laps ago, they were on pit road, so this is an early stop. once again, they wanted to make sure they did not have a problem. Some of the teams struggling a little bit with balance with the new Pirelli tires, trying to make sure that they maintain that tire in balance. So perhaps that's the problem that Jimmie Johnson had. But right now, Alex Gurney is down and away.
Well, Brian, as you know, a shake or a vibration at 40 or 50 miles an hour isn't a big thing. At 190 miles an hour, on the other hand, it's a big thing.
So Gurney, the defending Daytona prototype co-champion, is out on track. His regular mate in John Fogarty put in a massive effort earlier in this race. I think he may have done 4 consecutive stints, 3 or 4 consecutive stints. It was a mighty effort from Fogarty. Now it's Alex's turn.
Well, Leigh, the other thing I noticed when the car left, there is no damp area underneath the car after that stop. So Dorsey, I think we were right. When they filled the car with fluid before, it just sinks its own level. It settled down. We shouldn't see any more fluid out of the back of the 99.
Well, that's good news right there. And actually, like I said, when you pressurize the system above what the capacity can even hold, you can actually put more water in there by expansion than is allowed. And it, pukes it right back out.
76 is Nick Johnson, regular member of the Krone Racing organization, has a new teammate this year in former F1 driver Ricardo Zonta. This car is currently 4th in the race. He took over from Darren Turner, and it's in a strong position. The second Krone car right behind there is several laps down. The 75 with Eric Vanderpool behind the wheel is 7th overall.
And Eric's car in better shape, cosmetically speaking, anyway, to the sister car who's lost a better portion of the rear fender.
Calvin is down in the Krone camp. What's happening, Cal?
Well, Ollie, Gavin is just like any Englishman would be doing at this time of the day, having a nice cup of tea. How's the run going, mate?
It's been a challenge, like this race always is, but it's been a huge amount of fun. The team's done a marvellous job, fantastic job. I mean, we've had lots of issues and challenges, whether it's punches or whether it's bits of bodywork coming off, bit of contact. We had, when it rained, we had a screen that we just couldn't see out of, and we had to change that, and then we had a gear shift problem. No, really, none of them have been major issues. It's just been little niggles, but the team's just performed fantastically. So a big thanks to everybody here, and enjoyed it immensely. Enjoyed racing against the other car as well, whether Ricardo's been in it or Darren's been in it. Great to race against people like Helio. I haven't raced against him since 1995 in Formula 3. It's just been brilliant fun.
That's what this race is all about, Ollie. I mean, I know everyone comes here. You've won many championships over the years, but winning a 24-hour race is special. But I think just being here at the beginning of the season, seeing all your mates and going out there and having a bash must be fun.
Yeah, it is. It's great fun, but I think it just shows how hard this race is to win, because you've got such great teams here. Ganassi, Penske supporting, Krone Racing here, and you've got some fantastic drivers as well, and it makes the competition level super high, super high. And so if you can win this, you think, oh, this is fantastic. I don't think it's going to be our day today, but I'll be back again.
All right, mate. Best of luck.
Thanks a lot,
Ryan.
Thanks, Cal. 2 legends down here in the Gainesco team. First of all, Jimmie Johnson, you just got out of the car. Listening to your radio traffic, seems like you had a little vibration out there. Tire out of balance or some pickup?
When that caution came out for all the oil, I was one of the first cars to that corner, and I'm lucky I didn't get in the grass and rip the nose off the car. But I slid a long way, and we were talking under that caution about if I felt a vibration where we were on our own lap, and being in second is great, but we're not going to make up 4 laps in the leader right now. So just to play it safe, we decided to come in and put tires on and get Alex in the car.
He says he was lucky not to go off. I think there was some skill involved with that too, Jimmie. Dan Gurney, also the other legend, sitting down here right now. Dan, of all people on this pit lane, you know that to win this race, you got to be there at the end, and it's not over until it's over. So, I mean, as an ex-driver, you sit and you look at these guys that are out there. What do you need to do from an emotion standpoint when you're a driver to say, hey, it's not over until it's over. I'm staying in this. I'm keeping my head down till the checkered.
Well, undoubtedly, once they've been here a few times, they realize that you're right. There isn't any pattern until, a few feet before the end of it, when you cross the line the last time. So there's always hope, and this team is very hopeful.
A lot of hope down here, and if anybody knows what it takes to get across the line here at Daytona, it's Dan Gurney. He's done it.
I think the thing to focus on, you just heard Jimmie Johnson say that we can't make up those 4 or 5 laps on the race leader unless something untoward happens to the 01 Ganassi car, but this is just a far stronger position to start the championship than what Alex, John, and the two Jimmies were in this time last year. So to be in second as opposed to 22nd is a huge advantage.
And we talked about a pattern developing during the course of the 24. Well, that pattern has now been established, no question about it. Chip Ganassi's team, they're going to just continue on. They got a 4 or 5 lap lead. They're going to be like that. The Gurney team, they're going to not take any chances. They're going to go for a second place finish unless Ganassi's guys have some sort of a hiccup.
Been seeing a lot of Daytona prototypes in GT. It's still Rafael Matos, Bryce Miller for TRG, and then Spencer Pumpelly, Jim Pace, Jan Halen for Synergy, and Jeff Siegel in the second Speed Source Mazda rounds out the top 5. And then the 87 Farnbacher Lowell's car. There's the overview of our top 5 in each class.